Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I do a lot of different crafts, but on today's video, I'm going to use the Glowforge to cut out a design that I made based on a video I recently saw by Demps Designs. Now, Demps is another YouTuber and she made a wallet kind of like this. She made it out of fabric and then she sewed it on her sewing machine. But I really love leather. I love cork. So I decided to go ahead and make a design for the Glowforge, cut it out, and see how it comes out. Now these are just some little templates I played with, and I really like how this design turned out. Now on the wallet that she made, she actually had this little band that goes across the front, and you see your flap sticks down in that. So that would be another way to do it, but I was interested in trying out snaps. So I ended up getting this little snap set off of Amazon, and I couldn't believe for just under $10 you get 120 sets of snaps and then the tools that you need to do this. So I'm going to try this out. I practiced once on this little wallet template and I got this top one backwards. It works, but it doesn't work the way it should. So I got them in there, but I had a little flaw. So hopefully today it comes out right on my cork. Now on a future video, I am going to make one out of leather. I'm going to engrave it with a Glowforge, cut it with a Glowforge, and then use stain to stain it. But on today, I'm going to go pretty simple for my first real attempt. So I'll cut this on the Glowforge, and then I'm actually going to hand sew it with some leather thread. And so my stitching pony that I made on a video quite some time ago, that's going to make an appearance today. If you used fabric or even cork, I think you could probably do it on your sewing machine. I just wanted to do it the way I work with leather. Okay, so I'm ready to go ahead and cut this down some. And I didn't really show you what this wallet is for. It's to hold a lot of those little rewards cards, your driver's license, little bit of cash, whatever you want it to be. Now this has a stain on it, but in my design I made this pretty deep so that you could actually grab your cards. And then I've left a little excess room at the top. That way if you get quite a few cards in here and it needs to expand, there's room for expansion. Now this is what the dashboard of the Glowforge software looks like. So I'm going to say I want to upload a design. So I'll say upload. And even though I don't plan to use this piece, I went ahead and brought it in just in case I want to cut one sometime where I do use that piece. Alright, so I'm going to click off of it. Now you see it came in various layers. And that's because in Inkscape, when I designed this, I had those as different colors because I like to dictate what cuts first. For example, I like all my little intricate cuts to cut first and the main design to cut last. The way you can do that is I can just drag this above the bigger design. The order they'll cut in is the holes for the thread first, the holes for the snap second, the main design, and then this little band. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the band and I'm going to say ignore. Alright, I'm going to use thin leather setting for this. So what you do is you click right here and you click on unknown. I'll search right here for leather. And then I'll say thin natural leather. Now right now it thinks I want to engrave everything. That's why it's blue. So I'm going to click on engrave and I'll say I want to cut it. Then on the snap holes I'll do the same thing. And on the body of it, again, I'll hit cut. Now, one thing I notice is, even though it's ignoring this, it wants to cut the holes out of this thin piece because I kept them on the same layer as that. Let me see if I can just get rid of those over here. I think I'll just delete that whole thing. Okay, good. so they went away. Now I think I'll still go ahead and drag that up. So it's going to cut the snap holes first, then the thread holes, and then finally the wallet. So what I need to do is take my design and move it over onto the fabric. Now I can tell that my lenses are getting dirty because it looks so dark. I need to clean my Glowforge. Now, if I was worried about it all fitting perfectly, I could go right up here, click on those 3 dots and say Set Focus, and then I can have it focus anywhere I want it to. Then you can see right here it's focusing. Maybe you can hear it in the other room focusing. Again, in this case, because I have plenty of room, I'm not concerned about it, but that can be really useful for some things. So it's all ready to cut. I'm going to click on Print. It's going to calculate how long it'll take, and that was really fast. I don't pay for their monthly subscription, which gets you in what they call the fast lane, but that was really fast to calculate that and get it ready to print. So here's the cut, and it's going to be hard for you to see, but those little circles cut through. Now there may be a few stuck in there, not too many. If there are, you can just take a weeding tool or something and just poke them through. Then I can see that little hole right there. Whoops, the little circle. It was still just barely hanging on. Now, a lot of the times I would use a paper masking material. I didn't on this one because there's so much black in this and the speed was going to be pretty fast. But look at the back side. You do see a little bit of charring. Let me see if I can clean that off. I'm just going to try a little bit of rubbing alcohol. And I actually think when that dries, most of that charring is going to be gone. But if I were making this to sell, then I would use paper masking at least on the back side. And especially up on this flap, because when you open it, that's going to show. Okay, so we're ready to move on, and we're ready to sew this up. Now I think I better do the snaps before I sew it. Now, if you want to make something like this and you don't have a Glowforge, you can actually punch all these little holes out. I have a punch set that has tiny little holes. Or you can get this little fork thing that you punch for leather. That'll work too. In this case, it actually comes with the punch tool for the snap. I didn't use it since I used my Glowforge. And then it has the tools that you'll need to set the snap pieces. With this having a lot of black in it, I think I'll use black snaps. So there's 4 different pieces that you need, and they all look different. So it's not too difficult to figure out the 4 different pieces. But it is a little bit difficult when you start figuring out what goes where. So let me look at these instructions. And then I'm going to need a hammer. Now this is a rickety old torn up hammer, but it works. Okay, so my snap, or the shape of my wallet, will be like this. So I know that I need this flat piece on the top, and then let me see what goes into the flat piece. Okay, so I have these 2 pieces, and I know I want this to come out on top. So I have to put this through my fabric. And I think I need to cut those a little bit larger. I didn't quite have the right setting on the Glowforge or in my Inkscape design, so I'll fix that. But I'll make this hole just a little bit larger with the punch that came with it. Okay, then you have this smooth piece that you put down. That way you can put the face of this on the smooth piece. Then I'm going to put this right over the top. Okay, so then I have the setting tool. It's kind of pointed on the end. I'll place that down in there. Now, when I punch on this, or when I pound on this, I'm going to go ahead and mute it because it'll be really loud. But I'm going to push down and then I'm going to kind of go around like that. Okay, from the side I can see that's nice and tight. Okay, I know when I get better at this, it'll come naturally to me, but right now it really doesn't. Okay, so I need this little nipply looking thing up like that. So I've got to put this long piece that it connects to through the bottom. So for this one, you flip it over and you have a different texture on this side. The smooth side was for the smooth snap. And then for this one, it has this little pointed thing in there. So I'm going to put that up into my snap. Then I'm going to put this piece over the top of that. And for this one, I have one that's kind of concave and hollowed out. So I'll place that down. I'll punch straight down, and then I'll kind of go in a circle. Okay, so that looks nice and tight too. Let's do a reality check. Awesome. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it's kind of wobbly around because I haven't sewn the sides yet. But I didn't want to do all the work sewing it up and then screw up the snap. So I'm glad I have the snap done. Plus, once you sew it up, it would be hard to manipulate your fabric to where it needs to be to do this. Go ahead and pull that apart. Now this is where the stitching pony comes into play. So with this stitching pony, I made this really simple. I just have this little wing nut, and then I can pull this top piece apart. This has leather over the wood to protect your fabric or to protect your leather. So first of all, I want to get my holes lined up really nicely. Then I'm just going to place it down in the top. And then tighten this on the side down. It doesn't need to be super tight. It just needs to hold my fabric for me. It's just like having a third hand. Now to stitch this up, I'm going to use 2 needles. And I'll show you here in a second why. Okay, so this thread, as it's doubled over, needs to be long enough to go back and forth through all these holes. So I'm going to have some excess. And then I'm going to thread the hole through this leather needle. I'm not sure if I said that right. I'm going to put the thread through the eye of the leather needle. So I have one on this end, and then a second one, at the other end. Okay, getting those threaded is a challenge for my old eyes, but I have a needle on each end of the thread. So the first thing I'm going to do is find my bottom 2 holes, and I'm going to go from one side to the other. Then I want to have about the same amount of thread on each side of it, and with the one on the right, I'm going to go up 1 hole, push it through the left side, and then on this second hole, I'm actually going to go back through the very same hole with my other needle. Then as I go, I want to tighten it up just to make sure it's really nice and snug. Now here, I'm just going to crisscross the whole way up. So again, I'm going from one side to the other, and then in that same hole, taking my other needle and going back through to the other side. The only hole you don't go back through with both needles is your very starting hole, that very first hole I did. Okay, so I'm going to do this all the way up. I'll just fast forward through it. Okay, I'm at the end. So what I'm going to do is come back about 2 holes and then burn it off. And I actually pulled my thread out of my needle, or my needle off my thread. So I'm going to end it right here. So I'm going to cut fairly closely, but I will leave just a little bit of excess that I can burn. But when the flame gets close to it, I can see it starting to kind of bend back and melt. So you don't have to get real close to your leather, or in this case, the cork. Okay, so when it cools just a little bit, I'm going to shove that down with my fingers. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, and when I'm done, I'll bring you back and I'll show you the final product. Now remember, on this first one, you just go through this first hole once, and then on every other hole, you go back and forth with both needles. Now this time I decided I would just end both pieces of thread on this side. That way, and this really looks good up here, but on some things, I think it would show on this pretty side. So if you end it back here, that's going to be mainly covered over anyway, I think that might be a better way to do it. Okay, that is so cute. So you put your little cards down in there. There's plenty of room for them, and there's plenty of room to be able to grab it here. If you make a design like this, you just want to make sure that it's deep enough that you can grab those. And just snap it down. Now once I've snapped it down, I could start making a crease in the top so that it settles down into place better. There we go. How cute is that? So thanks so much for joining me today. Until my next video, bye-bye. Someone just recently used my link to buy their Glowforge, so they got a discount, I got a referral fee. Now Glowforge doesn't tell me who you are, they barely give me any information about you, they don't tell me how to contact you, but I wanted to let you know how appreciative I am. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you.